de hoy, en esta ya penúltima charla del día de todo el evento. Hoy tenemos el gusto y el placer de contar con la presencia de Cameron Hauser, nuestro amigo desde Austin, Texas, y nuestro amigo Carlos Matt, que nos va a ayudar con la interacción con Cam. Un gusto tenerlos ambos aquí. Buenos días, Julio.
Buenos días, Joche. Buenos días, Carlos. Y good morning, Cam. Les voy a contar qué es lo que tienen que hacer para escuchar todo lo que vamos a estar hablando en inglés. Ustedes lo van a poder estar escuchando en español, dándole clic en la parte de abajo, ya sea en su celular o en su computadora. Hay como un mundito, como un circulito que dice Interpretation o dice Intérprete. Ahí le dan clic y escogen español o Spanish. Ahí yo lo estoy escribiendo también en el chat. Y ahí ustedes van a estar escuchando todo lo que se está hablando, lo van a escuchar en español para todas las personas que no hablan español o que quisieran escuchar la charla en español. Así que diciendo esto, te cedemos la palabra, Matt, que ya estuvo el día de ayer con nosotros en el panel de tecnología, para que nos ayudes dándole la bienvenida a Cam e iniciando esta charla. Muchísimas gracias y buenos días.
Buenos días a todos, gracias por acompañarnos. Tenemos un día muy especial hoy porque tenemos a Cam Hauser. Tengo el honor de llamarlo un amigo personal y yo soy producto de las enseñanzas de este hombre, básicamente. Entonces, ahorita lo voy a introducir en inglés.
You can start talking in English right now, so everybody is going to hear the interpretation.
Yeah, absolutely. Cam Hauser was put on this earth to help people and organizations activate their potential through entrepreneurship and innovation education. He is an internationally recognized startup founder known for developing high-energy workshops and online programs, helping thousands of people use the methods and mindsets of entrepreneurs. As the CEO of ActionWorks, he works with organizations ranging from Apple to GE Aviation to a 100-year-old Danish paint company to execute innovation projects and engage employees. In addition, Cam teaches at the School of Design and Creative Technologies at the University of Texas. He's best known for leading and growing 3-Day Startup, an entrepreneurship education organization to support founders in 35 countries. I have been one of those founders that he has supported, and I am happy to have him here today and excited for his teachings. And I am honored to call him a personal friend. And with you, we have Cam Hauser. Welcome, man.
Hola, buenos días a todos. Saludos a Joche, Carlos. Un placer verte otra vez. Voy a hablar en inglés por el resto de la presentación. But it is a pleasure to see all of you, and I'm so excited to be part of this. I'm very passionate about Latin America, and Yoche and Carlos have gotten me excited about so much of Honduras, and I'm just so pumped to be part of this. What I'm going to do is tell you a little bit of my story in a way that it can be useful to you. I am going to tell you how to use video in interesting ways. I think video is a tool that is underused for entrepreneurs. And I'll tell you how I have grown my own businesses using video in interesting ways. And if there's time at the end, we will talk about how to present in Zoom. As business people, as professionals, as entrepreneurs, Zoom, this is how we live in COVID. And there are ways to communicate in Zoom that are better than when you are presenting in real life. And so I'm going to share some of those tips on how do you present in Zoom. Very quickly, just to check in with everyone, while we are disconnected in space, I am in Texas, in the United States, in Austin. You all are in Honduras and all over Latin America. If we could do a chat storm, and a chat storm is when on the count of 3, we're all going to type in to the chat. And the first time that I spoke in Chile, I was running an entrepreneurship program. I was teaching founders. And I got on stage and I asked a friend, before I got on stage, I said, how do you say the informal way of saying hello? How do you casually say hello? How do you say, what's up, dogs? Like, what's up, people? And he told me what that phrase was. And so I got on stage and to the entire room, I said, hola, weones. And I did not know that weones actually means jerks. And no one knew that I knew that phrase. So everyone thought I was insulting the entire audience. But luckily I was able to recover. But if we could, on the count of 3, type in, how do you say hello in your culture, in your neighborhood, in your city, in the informal way? So not just hola, but in Texas, we say howdy. So let's all do that. How about 1, 2, 3, do it. Okay. Okay. ¿Qué ondas? Yeah. ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué pedos, brother? Okay. ¿Qué nuevo viejo? Okay. ¿Qué hubo? Interesting. Okay. Cool. All right. Very cool. Well, anyway, we've got a great group and we've got a lot of people. So I'm going to jump into this. I have started 4 companies. First company failed. Second company failed. Third company exploded. That one did well. Fourth company, we'll see. The first company was based on when you watch sports on TV. So you're watching football. And when you watch football, you're stuck with the commentators, the announcers, the people who watch the game. And what I saw was all these changes happened with YouTube and SoundCloud and all these interesting technology changes that allowed you to experience wildly different types of media. How come we didn't have more choices with the commentators? So if I'm watching a football game, I want to hear more women commentators, or I want to hear comedians who are cracking jokes. I want to hear young people who cuss and swear a lot when they watch the games. I want to hear a drunk person calling games, right? Why would technology not allow us to have some diversity and some changes to how we experience sports on television? So that was my first company. And everyone loved it. It was exciting. But we could never figure out the business model. And because of that, the company did not go very far. And that's when I learned that it was interesting to, if you start a company that's interesting, that's one thing. But if there's no business model, you're in trouble. Our challenge was when there was no real way to make money with this other than to try to sell to the big sports networks. And we were nobodies. We were just 2 random guys in Austin, Texas. And we didn't have any connections or any way to get into that industry. So that company failed. And then I started my next company. My next company was, I wanted to go someplace where people spend a lot of money. And in the United States, people spend really large amounts of money on weddings, right? And what we wanted to do was build a gift that could show up on the registry. So a wedding registry is when you buy gifts for the couple who's getting married. And we built a digital time capsule, a product that what you would do is you would take your phone and you record a message. Hey, honey, I love you so much. I remember when we began our journey, the first time we met, and it was such a magical time. And then you upload this to the cloud and it forms a time capsule. And then 1 year later, that opens up and you get to revisit this special time. Well, when I asked people about this business, they liked it. They said it was interesting and it was good. But just because they said they liked it doesn't mean they would actually pay for it. And this was a long time ago. This was 10 years ago, a little bit more than 10 years ago. So at the time, there was another company that got started that was doing the exact opposite of what we were doing. We were making content that if you record it, it would last forever because it was a time capsule. was another company called Snapchat that was making content that disappeared. It was making content that, it turned out that a big need that people had was to not know, to know that the content they recorded would evaporate, that they wouldn't be floating on the internet forever. And so Snapchat went like this, and our company died. And so then, after my second company failed, I started my third one, which was focused on, I was in graduate school, and the idea that I had along with my co-founders was the best way to be an entrepreneur is just to do it. It's not necessarily reading books. It's not necessarily taking classes. It's going and just doing it. And that company was called 3-Day Startup. And this company worked. Turns out that our model of running a very quick 3-day program is kind of similar to Startup Weekend, but more for university students, if you all know that program. That just starting a company works better than thinking and theorizing about it. So this company, it started in the University of Texas at Austin, and it expanded. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I got to spend 10 years traveling all over the world, helping entrepreneurs start companies. And as Carlos mentioned, as Jose mentioned, I would meet early stage founders and share what we had learned running entrepreneurship programs all over. So we got to learn, what is it like to be an entrepreneur in Shanghai versus Sydney, Australia, versus Cape Town, South Africa, versus London, versus Paris, and all these different cities. And so I spent 10 years taking that everywhere. And that's where I got the bulk of my knowledge that I will be sharing today. And ActionWorks is my company now. It's my fourth company. And what we do is governments pay us to build entrepreneurship programs. We do a lot of AI work. I don't know if you all know GPT-3. GPT-3 is a fairly new and exciting AI technology that is becoming more and more common. And we've been experimenting with this technology as a tool to learn entrepreneurship. But we also do lots of video work and video training. And that's what I'm going to talk about today is how do you as an entrepreneur use video? So with that, I'm just kind of going to jump into some slides that explain where I'm coming from. And if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat. I will do my best to see them and help out. But just to clarify, what I'm assuming is that you all are early stage and you don't have big teams. So you don't have a big team. It might just be you. You might have a company that's going, you might be at the early stage, but that your primary camera is a smartphone. So I'm going to talk about how do we use smartphones to run high quality video. And I'm also going to assume that you're not a video professional. I'm also going to assume that while you want to grow your startup, you also would be interested in learning how can you use video to advance your career. If you're a professional with a job or you want to switch industries, how can you use video in creative ways? And then there's some people who are responsible for growing the impact of their company. The other thing that I like to do when I am helping people is use community. So I have good advice and I have good things to share, but I want us to within chat, and what I like doing is building situations where people can interact. And I'm very active on Twitter, by the way. So I'll drop my Twitter account in the chat. But I answer questions a lot on Twitter, and I'm happy to, again, help that way. So the reason why smartphone video and why phones are good is that there's this saying that the best workout plan is the workout plan that you follow, and the best diet is the one that you follow, right? You don't need to spend too much time. Most people try to get the perfect diet and then follow it to lose weight, when in fact, you just need to be consistent. And what's so great about phone as a camera is you always have it on you. The other thing is that in the last few years, and this has only been for the last 3 or 4 years, the quality of a smartphone, of modern iPhones and Android phones has gotten good enough that just now the video quality is good enough. So and the other thing is that the interface of your phone, you're familiar with that. So given that, it makes a lot of sense to do that. And video as a medium, if we think about the things we learn, the stack of things of skills that you have, learning video is a very powerful tool. There is so many types of people who make so many different types of video, right? There's video on social media, there's vlogs, if you have a company that you need to explain, you can do a 2-minute explainer video. You can review products, you can make tutorials. And I'm a big fan of video essays that use really interesting motion graphics, but there's all these different types. We'll talk about some of that, but when you're starting out, some of the better types of video to explore are hello videos, and I'll explain what that is. Or if you do some writing, making a piece of video to promote that writing. Or if you are trying to get a customer. I do this all the time. I use video as a sales tool. So if I am trying to get a big deal from a client, I will submit the proposal, but I'll also send a video of me saying, hey, I've really enjoyed our conversations thus far. I can see great things happening between your business and my business and us working together. So I'm really excited to explore that. And doing that on video can just be really, really powerful. So there's a whole lot of other options that I'll get into. But at the early stages, when you are starting out, here's what to think about is, first off, the most important thing is just to make videos. It's to complete videos and publish them. That is where you get the learning. It's also listening to your feedback. It's learning how to become a good storyteller. And it's learning how to, what I think entrepreneurship is about, creating value and capturing it. So it's learning, is what you're doing actually working? And then the other thing is getting good enough at video that you don't have to think too hard about it. It's a very powerful thing to be able to sit down in front of the camera and just talk. And if you make enough videos, you can learn that, as opposed to having to write a script every time and think about what you're doing. What's not important is we tend to think about views. Do we have enough views? Do we have enough subscribers? That's not very important at this point. Wondering about the YouTube algorithm. So much of social media is algorithmically controlled. And if people see your videos based on the algorithms, don't worry about that. You just want to get good at making videos. Worrying about tools is something that people spend too much time on. Editing, logo, all this stuff. Don't spend too much time on that in the early stages. So how do you make good videos? You need to make lots of bad videos. In the early stages, your videos are going to be crappy. They are going to be bad lighting, bad sound. You're going to stutter and mumble. Your voice will say, and it's okay. To deliver that way in the early stages is fine. Over time, you'll get better. It takes us a psychological hurdle to get over this. And what I mean is that you're going to be embarrassed of your early videos, and that's totally fine. I have plenty of videos that are still online of me not being as brilliant and as insightful and as well lit and as well produced with good audio as I would like. And that's totally fine. No one is going to judge you on that older work. What you want to do is build up a capacity where you can productionize it. And productionize it is a term pretty much taken from software, which just means that you are operationalizing your production so that you can make lots of videos at once. You want to make it so that the time that it requires to make a video is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So you can make lots of them and making it automatic, okay? So one of the techniques that I recommend is when you start, record 10 videos of you just saying hello to a friend. So the first video goes to a friend. So this is my friend Ephraim, and I just sent him a video, right? So check this out.
Ephraim, you crazy bastard. Your boy has been learning how to film better quality videos on the iPhone.
So the quality is not really good. It's very blurry. The audio is okay. But the point of that is I'm just sending my friend Ephraim a video. I'm not making a big public video for the world to see. Just sending him something that's not perfect. But when you do that, you get used to being on camera, which is a big part of it. Sometimes we get scared of being on camera, or we get nervous. And when you send a video where the audience is one other person, it is a lot easier to manage, right? So you can just send 10 hello videos to friends and you'll learn. What you do is you'll see that over time they'll get better. And eventually I started using them with colleagues. So these are people I wanted to work with. This group that I was trying to get some work with.
Kirsten, Jessica, Ava, and Jacqueline, I hope all of you are well and that COVID is not driving you nuts.
So again, this is a potential client that I want to do work with. And it's just saying, hey, how are things? We get emails all the time, but it's not often that we get a video that is specially made for us. And so again, this is how you can learn to get comfortable on camera and learn how to get better with your lighting and all that. So this is what I recommend. Send 10 hello videos to your friends. And you know, I've done a lot of these. Look at this. I've sent hundreds of these videos, some of them to friends, some of them to colleagues, some of them to people I want to work with. But look at all these videos and they're all the same. But when you do this, it's developing muscle memory. It's like going into the gym and doing the same motion, like doing the bicep curl over and over. You just get really good at it when you approach it that way. And look at this. Down here, I've made almost 500 of these videos. Now, I do a lot more professional videos now, but I've done a lot of videos that were just saying hello. And what it does is it develops automaticity. Automaticity is that muscle memory. It's that ability just to quickly record, quickly upload. And again, you're setting it to an unpublished status. And that means not public to the world, but it's someone who can find it only if they have the link. What it also does is the worst thing to do is to make a video and never show it to anyone. You need feedback. And as Carlos will tell you, feedback is so crucial for entrepreneurs. We need feedback from our customers, from potential investors, from potential partners. We need to know what we're doing. And it's called being a caveman if we only go into the cave and we never look out. So by making videos that are sent to someone you know, you're able to get feedback from them. But when you make all those videos, you'll learn all these different things. You'll learn things about the best time of day to film, when you have the best energy, where to put the mic. You'll learn that after you talk for 20 minutes, and after 20 minutes of filming, your throat starts getting dry. You'll learn that if your neighbor is playing Waka Flocka, it's too loud, right? So look at all these things that you want to learn over making lots of videos. And you will learn about your parts. You'll learn about so much about, your storage just by making these videos that aren't that important, a video that is just for one other person. Whereas once you make the really important ones that you're trying to have the whole world see, you've already gone through all the rough drafts and all that learning. So another thing is if you want to get really fancy, when you get really good at this, you can use it as a sales tool. So I send people to these are all people I've wanted to work with at some point. And again, if they get a video that says, hey, I want to work with you, I made this video just for you, people aren't used to that. They're not used to nice lighting, nice audio, just for them. And when I reach to people who are out of my league, super big time people who are famous or celebrities or influencers, they tend to watch what I send them because they're getting a video, even though they don't know who I am, right? And so this is using Mail Merge. Mail Merge is a sales tool where you can batch emails in a very personalized way. And it's just really, really powerful. And we're talking about something totally different than making a YouTube channel, right? YouTube channels kind of drive me nuts. They always have the thumbnail of someone going I hate that. Or someone's face I don't, it's too much, right? I'm not like that. And the way that you can learn to have your own style is really powerful. And the way that you can learn your own style is doing just small videos just to friends, to your family, just to people you know. And by the way, if you want to send me hello videos, that's perfectly fine. When I run this workshop, people send me hello videos because they feel embarrassed to send it to anyone else. So I think my email will be at the end of the proposal, but I would love to see your hello videos of you just saying, hey Cam, how's it going? I hope you're well. Another thing about the hello videos is when you send someone a video that says, hey, just want to say hello, let you know I was thinking about you, that makes someone's day. That is such a powerful moment in the course of their day. And so you get this benefit of you're learning, but you're also adding joy to the world. And as entrepreneurs, you know, I want us all to, you know, I want us all to get rich. I want us all to come up. I want us crushing it in life. But why not better someone's day and make the world a better place by having someone smile a little bit? Angela, thank you for your comment. I love that. So look at the setup, right? This is Pinky, my director, but keep in mind that you don't need to have a particularly fancy setup to get good results, right? And I'll talk more about lighting, but you just need to set up a space, and it's okay if behind your camera it doesn't look that fancy, right? It's you can make things look really, really good with a smartphone. Here's a quick take on gear, and I don't know you all's ability to get parts, but I'll share this just so you know. When you're starting out, you definitely need a tripod, and you definitely need a mount. So a mount is this thing in the middle. I will start annotating just so you can see it. But this thing in the middle here, that's what a tripod mount is. And that's what allows you to, yeah, it looks like I can't annotate in webinar. Okay, so this thing in the middle here, that's what holds the phone, right? So you'll do that. And then what I would get is this one over here, this flexible, bendy tripod. It's just really cheap, it's not expensive, and it's an easy way to get started. After that, you can get something like this one over on the far side, but these are things that you'll definitely need for professional quality stuff. And they're not expensive and they're easy to do. So get a tripod and get a mount. Another thing is when you think about what you're focusing on, getting audio quality is actually more important than video. And the reason this is the case is that if you have good audio quality, we tend to, the human eye can perceive, we can see, like we get more data from our eyes than we do our ears. And so because of that, the human eye is very, very evolved to get very good information from our visuals. So even if things are blurry, we can still make out information. But if our audio is bad, our brain has to work harder to understand it. So I would start with your audio and get that fixed first. Let me show you a great starter microphone. This is called a lavalier mic, and a lavalier mic, it clips on your shirt like that. Again, not expensive, right? What I would recommend is that in the same way that here I said, buy 2 mounts. And the reason I want you to buy 2 tripod mounts, 2 of these things in the middle, is because they will break easily. You're gonna drop them, they're gonna break. Same thing here. You are gonna step on this mic, you're gonna forget that it's on and you'll be connected and you'll walk away and it'll tear. And the cheap ones break easily. So I would buy 2 just for, it's also just good to have a backup, right? Or in case you let a friend borrow it. So buy 2 of these, buy the cheapest ones, and just know that it's gonna break. Also note that this adapter here, if you have an iPhone, you will need an adapter like that, okay? The other thing is lighting. I have a pretty heavy duty light setup. Like here's a light, there's a light, this is a reflector here, but you don't need this to get started. The key thing when you're just getting started is film during the golden hour. The golden hour is 30 minutes around sunrise and sunset. And you can see that it, with no lighting, it actually can end up looking pretty good just from having natural light filming at that time. So use natural light and film during the golden hour, either in the morning or at night. But if you do want a camera, if you do want to start with some formal lighting, a ring light is fairly common. You see this, that a lot of YouTubers have it. But what it does is a ring light just provides nice, even light around your face. And that's a good starter one. I'm not a big fan of them, but they're good for starting, right? So this is the kit I use. And when you're ready, after you've already experimented a little bit, I would shift up to this sort of light setup. It's a little bit more expensive, but the quality can be quite good. So it's called an LED light. And when the only thing you really need to know about an LED light setup is I'll get to that. I'll get to like triple point lighting, 3-point lighting. So the other thing, when you are filming, you want to follow the rule of thirds. So right now in the Zoom call, I'm right in the middle of the camera. But you want to be over here or over here when you are filming for camera. Because when you're doing video work, it just makes it a little bit more interesting and a little less boring to be perfectly symmetrical. There's debates about this, but that's just what I recommend. Next thing up is if you have an iPhone 11, use the telephoto lens, the one right there. What that does is it makes it look less like a camera phone, more like you're using a real camera. If we had more time, I'd explain why, but just use that lens. Another thing I want to talk about is the most basic cut, is that when you're starting out, you only have one camera. And so how do you make things varied? How do you make things interesting if you only have one camera? Well, you do what's called a jump cut. And a jump cut is when you take your shot and you just crop it, and then you crop back out. So I'll show you real quick. So here's a jump cut. See, there we go. So what's happening is this is how you got just a little variety, and there we go, and they're cut back. So it's all the same footage, but in your editing platform, like iMovie, which again, iMovie comes on a Mac. The most basic video editing gear can handle that kind of work. Can handle the work where you zoom in and zoom out. And this is super easy. If you just Google jump cut, you'll see. But when you're starting out, this is a great way. There you go. There's another jump cut. That's just a great way to understand how that works. Okay, so if you want to get a little fancier, there's a way to use motion graphics. Motion graphics are when things move around, animation. And the programs that allow this are fairly complicated. Things like Premiere and After Effects, Adobe After Effects, these programs are expensive and hard to use. Whereas there's a way to use Apple Keynote, which is free if you have a MacBook, that can be really, really powerful. So it's just Google, but you can see, you can do stuff like this, right? Where you're getting moving motion graphics that look a little more professional than some of the things baked into iMovie, right? So I would suggest you check that out. But you can do really cool stuff with all within iMovie, or sorry, within Keynote. So just note that and Google that if you want to dig deeper into that, but I wouldn't even worry too hard about that in the short term. So 3-point lighting. This is the most basic type of lighting to get professional. And what you do is you take your biggest source of light, which is called the main light. It's also called the key light. You can have a background light, which you don't really need, and then the fill light, which is the one on the side. But just Google 3-point lighting and you can learn all about this. This is a quick chart just to, feel free to take a picture of this. And if you join my mailing list, by the way, I'll share my mailing list. So I will share, that's my mailing list. I will share all of this information in my mailing. So join that. It's a free email and you'll get to hear kind of stories of all the stuff I'm up to. But I'll share this chart and I'll share kind of more information. But here's some basic stuff on this. The only thing I would caution you here is teleprompter apps are kind of hard. So this is why I recommend you start with the hello videos, because when you say hello, you don't need to worry too much about what you're going to say. Once you start giving videos about topics where you want to be a thought leader, sometimes it's useful to have a script. And then if you don't feel comfortable making that up, you need to use a teleprompter app. And the teleprompter apps are all over the place. Some are good, some are bad. So you just need to experiment to find the one that works best with that. Okay. Another thing that I recommend is you can, when you make a video, just make it unlisted in YouTube and then upload it embed it in a Google slide. And this way your friends can see it and comment on it without it being public. So that's another thing if you're worried about people seeing your videos and when you're not quite ready to share them with the world. Okay, so that's it for that. We're gonna shift into how to present in Zoom and we'll shift into just general questions. But if you need to find me, that's my email, that's my Twitter, and that's my mailing list. But before I go on to talking about Zoom, are there any questions about filming, about video, about entrepreneurship, about how to get customers, about how to use video for entrepreneurship, about equipment? So we'll just take a second and see if anyone have any questions. And feel free to put them in the chat and I will be happy to answer.
All right, so we're waiting for the community questions right now. I'm monitoring the Q&A bubble. Let me check.
Looks like Claudia has a question. She's raised her hand.
Let me see.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and allow her to speak if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Claudia, you're up. Okay, maybe no Claudia. Maybe she raised her hand accidentally. Oh, she's talking. You're muted, Claudia.
Yeah, you're muted, Claudia.
Yeah.
You mute. Okay, for everyone, there's the Q&A bubble that you can use. We have the first question right now. They're asking what type of camera do you recommend to start filming? Well, you already went over.
Yeah, so just to hit that again, use your phone. Don't go buy an expensive camera. When you buy a camera, when you're new to video, you'll buy the wrong camera because you're getting used to it. So right now with your phone, it's really just a question of skill, which is really cool because you could have the best skill 10 years ago and your video would still look bad. But because phones are so good right now, even third generation phones, because phones are so good, it is like you can just learn skill again. If you get a lavalier microphone, like I showed, and you get film at a good time of day, that will make your videos look really, really high quality. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Great. We have another question, and this is a really good one, by the way. What's the best format for recording videos when you want to post them on social media like Instagram and Facebook, horizontally or vertically?
Okay, this is a question of usually the format that you're using. So for example, TikTok only does vertical videos. I prefer landscape mode, so horizontally, because I think it looks more cinematic, and I associate cinematic looks with more expensive looks. I am not trying to get 1 million followers. I'm trying to sell what I do for very large amounts of money. And so for me, that involves looking, cinematic, that more style. But there are people who do great at both. What I would do is experiment with what you feel best at and what gets the best results. A lot of the way to think about this is less of being an artist and more about being a scientist. So when you make a video, if you get a lot of feedback from doing vertical, if your community loves you doing vertical, keep doing vertical, right? So just going on feedback more so than maybe what you like. That's a good rule for entrepreneur in the sense that we're also just listening to the customer. Yeah.
Great. Another question. What kind of cell phone do you recommend?
The iPhone 11 really stepped up. So if you can get the iPhone 11, I would recommend that a lot. All modern smartphones are good, but the iPhone 11 is really, really impressive. It has the telephoto lens, and I've been making video, smartphone video since iPhone 6, and iPhone 11 was the really big change. So that's what I would recommend.
Absolutely, guys. And just to add for that, I'm a filmmaker as well. So any smartphone from what, 3 years ago or 4 or 5 years ago should work, right? Don't you think?
Yeah. And Carlos is an award-winning filmmaker, by the way. So like, just so you all know, we're dealing with a big time guy on the call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Okay, more questions. Okay, I'm gonna do this in the rolling basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how long maximum should a video be for our clients?
Okay. When you say client, do you mean someone that you're if you're trying to win new business? Is that kind of what you mean? I'll assume that's what you mean. Yeah. So keep it. The good rule is to keep it short. Attention spans are not long in 2020. So I like to keep my videos very short. I like to keep them to 2 minutes or less. If I'm trying to get a new client, get a new customer, I keep it very short. Also, it takes up less space on your hard drive and gets easier to edit the shorter it is. So make it very, very short. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so this is a good one. I've been thinking in doing my first video for my store, but I never know what to say. What do you recommend? How do I get started? That's a good one.
Okay, that's a great question. So the first thing, like there's a long answer to this and a short answer. The short answer is, what question do people ask you a lot? You have a store and maybe you sell auto parts, maybe you sell fashion, maybe you do like DevOps for software companies or something, right? What is the question that people ask you? And whatever you get asked the most, talk about that subject. And you may be thinking, well, people ask me about, how to find a pair of belt that matches your pants. And if I answer that question, I've now answered the most common question, and now people won't need to ask me anymore. And now I've ran out of stuff to talk about. And it doesn't really work that way. What'll happen is that a lot of people who have good channels and a lot of good social media content is people answering the same question 50 different ways. So don't worry about holding back your best thing. Just answer everything, and that will get you more people interested in what you're doing, and they will have more questions. It's kind of like Amazon. Amazon keeps releasing new products. Like, you'd think that when Amazon makes Prime, where we get shipments very, very quickly, that, okay, customers are satisfied. No, we are never satisfied. So answer whatever question people ask you, and they will have more questions, and keep answering those.
Yeah. Thanks, Cam.
Yeah.
We have another one. When selling a product, is it better to do storytelling or just insert text on the video?
I would do both, actually. And the reason why is text is helpful just because a lot of people don't turn on their audio. So I would definitely think about that. But we as human beings are very much wired for storytelling. That is what we care about. And we get very excited and interested when someone tells us a story. I gave you all the short version of my story when we started, but I told you about when I went to Chile and I made a huge mistake. And I told you about my companies that failed. And I did that so you would know a little bit about me and what I'm about. Because if you're not going to care about what I know unless you know how much I care, right? About what I'm talking about. So, yeah.
Awesome. So we still have some questions about the length of the videos. We went over this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, keep them short, but you want to treat it like you would anything else, right? You'll see that there's analytics with YouTube. So you can see if people, when they stop watching, you can see that your shorter videos might be more popular. But what I do is one of my most popular video series is called 1 Minute Zoom Tips. And I started it right when the pandemic started because people were getting used to Zoom. And a big part of its success was because they were 1 minute. Some of them were like 3 minutes long. But if you call it 1 minute, people are attracted to short content. And when they get into that, then you can give them longer content. But there's actually arguments about this all the time. And we listen to 90-minute podcasts, right? So I would just experiment and worry more about making your content good and interesting than how long it is.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
How regularly should we present videos to our clients?
Carlos, by clients, do we mean people who pay you, or do we mean like followers and audience?
So guys, if you could specify what you mean by clients, please. Because if you have already a client, you should have a schedule, right? But if you're talking about your audience, so be specific.
Well, and I'm not even talking about making videos to sell to your clients. Yeah. I mean, that's something you can do, but what we've talked about here isn't quite as sophisticated as you would want for that. That's more of a Carlos style. He has actual gear and equipment to do that. What I'm saying is more is how can you use video to advance your company or your career? And as far as how much you want to send them, think about how much you would email someone. If I would not email the clients who I work with once a week with updates about nothing, right? They only want to know about I use this more as a way to get clients, right? And get people's attention who I'm not currently interacting with. But I'm talking about, again, a little bit of a less scalable way. My mailing list I have videos in that every day, but people who join my mailing list have signed up for that and they have chosen to hear from me, right? I don't want to communicate with people who don't want to hear from me.
Absolutely. So this is about creating a community, right?
Yeah.
Get people to know you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a good question right now. After we make our first video, how do we continue to come up with new content?
Okay, so I mentioned start with what is the question people ask you the most? But that's not just one question. I do a long form exercise where we come up with what are the top 10? What are the top 10 things people ask you? And if you sit down and you think about it, it's pretty hard to come up with that. So what I like recommending doing is I run Zoom sessions that are in Zoom meeting. And what we do is we get people together and we get in breakout rooms. And when you get into a breakout room with 4 other people who also want to make videos, the conversation that starts there, it will help you remember, oh yeah, my brother keeps asking me about this, or, oh, I went there. But so it's through discussion, you will find what people want to know about. The other thing is to experiment, to make videos about all different types of things. One of the things I do is I have a show called The War on Business Books. My job is to teach business and entrepreneurship, and people read business books. And I think business books are bad. I think they're a terrible way to learn. I think the best way to learn is to go out and do things. And so I'm very action oriented. So my channel, The War on Business Books, is me. When I read a business book, I make a 3-minute video talking crap about it, saying how much it sucks. And so whatever you read will give you ideas, and those ideas just talk about how you feel about a book. And you want to be useful, but in the early stages, don't think too much about what you say, just say a lot, because as you go, you will find what happens. And I cannot emphasize this enough. You want to less planning and more doing. So just make videos. The quicker you make 100 videos, when you do that, you will learn how to find what ideas to talk about. So just start making videos. Yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of questions about holding the viewer's attention, which I think it's very important.
Yeah.
How to keep the viewer engaged.
Yeah. This is tough because the best way to keep the number one thing, which you should do all the time, is try to be interesting and compelling. That's hard to do, so keep trying that. But one is to be expressive. So do not talk like this, move around, use your hands, be energetic, be engaging. But one good way to get over this is to get good at editing, right? And editing is a great way to keep the viewer's attention because, and that's a little beyond the scope of this. The reason I don't like talking about editing too much is that it becomes very time consuming. And what's far more important is that you make lots of videos now than you make a few videos with great editing. And editing can take forever. So we went over the jump cut where sometimes it's this big and then we cut. I would just do that for the short term. When we do, the longer term stuff, then we can get into more fancy editing, but that's good for now.
Absolutely, great. We have some more technical questions. So some people are asking for the software, what to use over iMovie, but I know there are some even mobile applications that help you with editing and everything, right? Yeah,
so I would recommend iMovie just because it's so simple and so easy to use and it's free. The next step up from iMovie is something called DaVinci, which is free, and it helps you do something called color grading. But if your lighting is good, you don't need to worry about color grading. There is a program called Adobe Rush that is actually pretty good, and it has good motion graphics, but it's part of the Adobe suite, so it costs money. What I'm telling you is that if your content is interesting, and if you are interesting, and the way you get interesting is just by doing this a lot, that is enough. People will notice that and care more about that more than they will your edits, the software you use, all that stuff.
Absolutely, and for people that don't have a Mac or don't have access to iMovie, there are some really good mobile editing suites as well that you can use that have editing presets and everything. So just search your Google Play Store or the App Store for editing, and I'm sure they will have some free stuff there. So if you don't have access to even a computer, you can edit your stuff in your phone, by the way.
Yeah. I do a lot of editing on my phone, by the way. Sometimes if you make a video that's good enough, all you need to do is trim the front and trim the back, and that's perfect, right? We are still, the reason that it is such an interesting time for video is that people aren't used to getting personalized video messages. So just the fact that you got the lighting right and the audio right, that's already a big deal. People don't need motion graphics to be impressed.
Absolutely. All right. So if you guys don't have any more questions,
Yeah.
I will ask Julio to jump in and maybe give some words.
Does Anna Bulnes, do you have a question? It looks like your hand is raised. I'm gonna go ahead and allow you to talk just in case you do have something. Maybe your hand is raised accidentally. But okay, yeah, it looks like you're muted. So yeah, I guess that was an accident.
Yeah, she has permission to talk there.
Yeah. But no, the key, y'all, is just to make videos. Just make videos and share them with your friends and family. And when you do that, you'll get better and better, and you'll find just how powerful of a tool it can be to grow your audience, grow your market, grow your friends, grow your community. You know, if someone, like if my family member gives me a nice thank you, gives me a gift for Christmas, I don't like sending a handwritten letter. I hate that. So I just record a video and send it to her, and then I don't have to do it. So there's all these great applications for video that you can do.
Absolutely. And just the last question, just to, they're talking about the quantity of product that they can put in one video. So this relates back to the engagement, like not to bore your audience, and maybe just talk a little bit about that. How many, they're asking specifically about how many products that they can put in a video, but
yeah. When you say, if you're doing, I would do one video per product, because if you think about a product is meant to solve a specific problem, and people, they don't care about the product. What they care about is getting the problem solved, right? So if you go to a hardware store, a general store to buy a tool, if someone buys a hammer and some nails, they don't really want a hammer and some nails. What they want is they want to hang something on a wall, or they want to fix a piece of furniture. That's what they care about. And so don't make a video with everything. Make one video with one story about one product, and then make another video with another story and another product. And you can make, you know, think about how many videos there are about the iPhone. There's thousands of videos. So you can make tons of videos about the same product. Just, you know, one, this is how our mother uses it. This is how my younger brother uses it. You can do tons of content and tons of storytelling, and it's really fantastic.
Excellent, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think you have given us all a great masterclass on how to create videos in a professional way, and in a very homemade way, and a high quality way.
Yeah.
So, man, it's great to having you here. I'm going to give it back to Julio and Hoche.
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cam, and thank you, Carlos Mats, for helping us today with this extraordinary presentation. And you already have all the contacts of Cam. So if you want to send a message, you can do it in their contact. So thank you very much. Ok, ahora vamos a continuar entonces con lo que nos queda de las dinámicas que nos hacen falta. Voy a compartirles pantalla para mostrarles los ganadores del día de ayer, y después vamos a hacer un pequeño receso y vamos a volver a las 11:30 para la final de los ganadores del premio de los $400. Entonces, permítame, les comparto la pantalla. Ok. Ahí estamos. Entonces, la persona que se gana, permítame. Me ven y todo, ¿verdad? La persona que se gana el curso de Excel de la charla del día de ayer es Jenny Cáceres de AA Glodis Customs. Ella es de Tegucigalpa y sus productos son servicios aduaneros. Y luego tenemos el de la página web, que era para lo del panel de tecnología. Quien se lo ganó fue Larisa Inestrosa de Tronic HN. Ella es de Tegucigalpa y justamente su página es de tecnología, vende cosas tecnológicas. Así que ahí están los ganadores del día de ayer, de la dinámica del día de ayer. Vamos entonces a hacer un pequeño receso. Vamos a volver a las 11:30. Se pueden quedar aquí conectados o después con el enlace para finalizar con las últimas palabras que tenemos Joche y yo, decir los ganadores, y también vamos a tener ciertas sorpresas para los que no ganaron y que participaron en varias dinámicas. Entonces, por favor, les pido que se conecten. A las 11:30 nos vemos ahí. Y Carlos, muchísimas gracias de verdad por ayudarnos ayer y por ayudarnos hoy.
Claro.
Te lo agradecemos.
Claro, y yo creo que antes de irnos, por favor, unámonos todos a decirle muchas gracias a Cam. Cam, mi hermano, qué lindo tenerte con nosotros. It's great hanging out with you guys, with you, man. I mean, it's great to see you again. I hope we get together soon. And you just gave us a great masterclass, and we're really, lucky to have you with us, man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Happy to do it. Thanks for the opportunity. And thank you to you and Julio and Joche for making all this happen. I love supporting entrepreneurs, and I really think it's amazing that you all are getting this community together. So thanks for the opportunity and good luck.
Thank you, brother. Good to
Thank
see you.
you.
Peace.
Nos vemos entonces, 11:30. Los que van a estar participando en la sesión de las 11:30, dando su pequeño discurso de en qué van a utilizar el premio, por favor nos van avisando de que ya están conectados para irles dando los accesos para poder que puedan hablar y poner su cámara o si tienen que hacer una presentación.
Excelente, gracias. Tuve que atender una llamada que cayó aquí, entonces no pude estar en la despedida, pero nos vemos a las 11:30.
11:30.
Chao.
Okay, Julio.